What impact will the 2024 national budget have on the real estate market? Watch this video to find out. My name is Natasha. I'm the founder and CEO of Diaspora Connect, and on this channel I like to give you information and inspiration to help you in the diaspora buy property back home in a safe and reliable way. Now, in this video I want to talk about the national budget that was announced recently and what impact it has on the property sector. But before we get into all of that, we're on the road to 10,000 subscribers, and we would really appreciate your help in helping us reach this milestone. So if you haven't done so already, then please click on that subscribe button and like this video. Our economic performance was revised downwards from 4.2% to 2.7%. And this was due to poor performance in the mining sector, escalating costs, and protracted debt negotiations. We all know how long that took. So it was against this background, this subdued background, that the Minister of Finance, Honorable Situmbeko Musokotwane, announced the 2024 budget. The theme for the 2024 budget is unlocking economic potential. This will be done through improved private sector investment, increasing productivity and production, and improved public sector service delivery. If you want to know more about how this budget is going to impact the real estate sector, then make sure you keep watching. The general feeling is that this 2024 budget represents continuity and stability. So it doesn't have any of the dramatic changes that we saw in the 2022 budget. Rather, it builds on the policies that the New Dawn administration introduced in their first budget 2 years ago. In this video, we're going to touch on 4 sectors. We're going to touch on agriculture, tourism, the social sectors, and transport and logistics, and discuss what opportunities they represent in real estate. Agriculture continues to be a priority for this government, and over 13 billion kwacha has been set aside for programs in agriculture, aquaculture, and livestock. These programs will include the Comprehensive Agriculture Transformation Support Program, which has various components to support the agricultural sector. There'll be significant investment of 600 million kwacha into farming blocks, and this is meant to go towards the construction of infrastructure such as roads, bridges, power lines, and irrigation systems. 12,000 livestock farmers are also meant to benefit from a community-based livestock breeding program, and the number of hatcheries is set to increase in 2024 so that the production of fingerlings can increase by 40% to over 430 million in 2024. So what does this mean for real estate? Well, the investment in the farming blocks means that there are real opportunities for people to invest in agricultural land and provide light industrial services that will add value to the produce that will come out of these farm blocks. We've seen that agriculture and livestock and aquaculture are receiving more and more attention. And what this means is that with new farming techniques and technology, it's becoming more and more profitable to invest in small holdings because the yield that you can get from small holdings is set to increase. Let's move on now to tourism. Tourism has clearly recovered in a post-pandemic world. In 2023, we saw that international tourists increased by over 20%, and occupancy rates were almost at 70%. This is a huge improvement from 2022. The other good news is that people are staying for longer. So in 2022, people were staying for just 3 days, but now we're seeing them stay for up to 4 days. Last year, I told you about the support that the World Bank was going to give Zambia, specifically in the tourism sector. Well, this year in 2023, this World Bank supported program was signed off, and $100 million is going to go towards increasing tourism product diversification. So that's diversifying outside of just Livingston and this will also increase the number of tourists we're able to attract and how long they stay in the country. We also need to make it easier for our local and international tourists to travel. So this program is also going to cover air and road connectivity, not just to the Northern Circuit, which we talked about last year, but now also to the Southern Circuit. Interestingly, government is also going to support different types of tourist products, such as cultural tourism, sports tourism, medical tourism, and avitourism. Now, I didn't know what avitourism was. I had to look it up, and this is essentially bird watching. So what does this mean for real estate then? Well, what's really interesting is that over the last year or so, domestic tourism has been on the rise. So there's still plenty of opportunities for people to invest in lodges that provide affordable accommodation for the domestic customers' pocket and their family needs. And like I said, the 2024 budget itself identified different tourism opportunities that have yet to be fully exploited, like cultural tourism, avitourism, which I just found out about, and sports tourism. Let's move on to the social sectors, and let's start with education. So the government is still building hundreds of schools across the country. Not only that, but existing schools have been increasing their capacity by building more classrooms through CDF, and the government is not yet done in hiring teachers. So in 2024, the government intends to hire 4,200 teachers, and 1,200 non-teaching staff will also be recruited. 15% of the budget is going to be spent on the education sector, and the allocation to the Higher Education Scholarship Board is going to be increased so that more students can benefit from the loan scheme. So what does this mean for real estate? Well, the free education policy plus the bursaries that have been provided by CDF has resulted in a phenomenal increase in student enrollment rates. These numbers have gone up by almost 46%, so that we currently have over 5 million pupils enrolled in schools. So what this does is create a huge pipeline for boarding facilities and student accommodation. And of course, demand for residential accommodation will continue to increase, with almost 40,000 teachers having been recruited in a 3-year period. And of course, investors can take advantage of this demand by building affordable housing and social amenities to keep these teachers in their rural stations. Now let's move on to the health sector. In 2024, the government is going to complete 4 mini hospitals, bringing the total number of mini hospitals built over the last couple of years to 111. Not only that, phase 2 of this project is going to commence with construction of 135 more mini hospitals across the country. This effort is also going to be complemented by building maternity annexes, and the target for 2024 is 30 maternity annexes to add to the 60 that were constructed in 2023. And just like education, the government will be recruiting even more healthcare workers. 4,000 are set to be recruited in 2024 to add to the 3,000 that were recruited by 2023. Almost 12% of the budget is going towards the health infrastructure in the country. So what does this mean for real estate? So as we heard in the tourism section, people can also start looking at investing in medical tourism. This is specialized medical services that attract people from outside of the country. And of course, just like education, demand for housing is going to be very strong, with 18,000 healthcare workers having been recruited over a 3-year period. They're going to be posted all over the country, and all of them need a place to stay. Also be huge opportunities for medical real estate, such as diagnostic labs, pharmacies, and even office space where specialists can then present and offer their medical services. Let's move on to transport and infrastructure. In 2024, the government is aiming to have at least 5 PPPs for road infrastructure. Now, this is mainly going to be to connect major towns and some bordering cities. This is all very well and good, and it's important. But what really moves the needle in terms of real estate is those feeder roads, particularly in rural areas. And the budget aims to rehabilitate 500 kilometers of feeder roads, and more kilometers will be rehabilitated and constructed using CDF, ZNS, and the Ministry of Local Government. So what does this mean for real estate? So we saw in Lusaka over the last 10 to 15 years how the investment into the road network really helped to boost the real estate sector in the capital. So we're hoping now that other areas outside of Lusaka, particularly in those rural areas, are going to get the same kind of boost. This is a great opportunity for long-term investors to start looking at opportunities outside of Lusaka. The other point is that when you work on rural roads, it makes transportation much easier, and this can also bring down the cost of construction. So we've gone through our 4 sectors. That was agriculture, the social sectors, tourism, and transport and logistics. And you can see that this is a continuation of the policies that the government put in place 2 years ago. Social spending has either remained the same or increased to reflect the priorities that government wants to implement. But what was missing from the budget? I think there were 3 major things that were missing from this budget. So in 2023, the Ministry of Lands introduced a new land administration system called Xylus, and it has had major teething problems. I would have liked to see some budgetary allocation to go towards improving this system, fixing the teething problems, and actually adding new features. Now, it may be in the budget, but it certainly wasn't in the minister's budget speech. The second area that I think was overlooked in this budget was initiatives and programs to address the housing shortage. What we continue to see is that roads are being prioritized over housing. And while roads are important, we still need to do a lot to address the housing deficit that we have, which according to current estimates is anywhere between 1.5 million to 2.5 million. And this gap is only going to grow wider. So I'm not really seeing any initiatives that are stimulating the construction of affordable housing by the private sector or through a PPP model where the private sector works together with the government. The last area which I think was overlooked in this budget was I would have liked to see funds being set aside for a nationwide land survey of all types of different land under local authorities, under the different ministries, especially customary land, which makes up the majority of the land that we have in this country, because those chiefs maps are outdated and go back to the last century. They are really old. So having this kind of exercise would help us know what land is available in the country, who it belongs to, and it would also protect people against encroachment. So I've given you an overview of the 2024 budget. And if you would like a more detailed analysis, because we didn't want this video to be too long, but if you want something with more detail, with more facts, with more figures, so that you can really get into the numbers, then click the link below this video and you'll be able to get your copy of our budget analysis and how it affects the real estate sector. I hope you found this video useful and informative. If you did, then please give it a thumbs up and share it with one other Zambian in your community who you know will find it equally useful. Like I said, we're on the road to 10,000 subscribers, so if you haven't done so already, we'd appreciate you subscribing to our channel and clicking that notification button so you don't miss any of our videos. Connect with us on social media because we love to chat with you there. Otherwise, it's bye for now.